Hey, it's me, Bobby33, and I'm here with a new video series called This Should Be a Game. Now, to give a brief summary of this new show, it's where I've taken an existing franchise of a video game and either A, take one of the supporting characters of that game and giving him or her his own game, B, taking that game and putting it into an entirely different genre, or say just make a direct sequel, prequel, or even spiritual successor. Now, in this episode, I'm taking Knuckles the Echidna from the Sonic the Hedgehog series, and I'm going to come up ideas of why he should have his own game. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about what genre it should be, what the story should be, who should develop it, and add any of the existing Sonic character that's already on there. With that being said, let's start this new show. Now, some of you hardcore Sonic fans may be wondering one or two questions. One of them being, didn't Knuckles already have his own game already? Which is, yes, it was on the Sega 32X called Knuckles Chaotix. But my idea is pretty much different from this game, although I'm going to be borrowing some aspect from it. Not necessarily the gameplay, but some of the supporting characters. And two, you're probably wondering, is it going to be a direct sequel to Knuckles Chaotix, which is no, mainly because I never played the game. In fact, I prefer having a port of the game first than coming with a direct sequel if I was Sega. In fact, I'm pretty surprised that Sega hasn't ported this game already, since they like to re-release a lot of their games. Now, you also may be wondering, out of all the characters I could have picked, why Knuckles? Also keep in mind that even though I picked Knuckles, doesn't mean I don't have any plans for any other Sonic characters. In fact, I already got one idea for another character, but that's another time. But if you can't wait for me to make one up for your favorite character, you can make a video yourself or article, and I'd be happy to watch it. But anyways, reason why I chose Knuckles, mainly because of his story. Let's start with the story first. Now, Knuckles' story has been dug a bit deeper in Sonic Adventure and a bit more in Sonic Chronicles The Dark Brotherhood, but I think we could dig it a bit deeper than that. And I think the Chaotix would help in that story. I know it sounds confusing at first, but well, just to say the Chaotix won't have a big part of the story, but I think they would help in this Knuckles continuity thing. You know, when other people talk about the new Sonic game, whenever Knuckles appeared, they always say, "Hey Knuckles, shouldn't you have an emerald to be guarding?" And also, I think I like to see the relationship between Knuckles and the Chaotix dig a bit deeper and try to make it a canon of the Sonic series from now on. But the story, for the most part, will revolve around the Master Emerald. As she should be the main villain of the game, I have three choices in mind. One would be create an entirely new character, which I mostly recommend. B could be X the Echidna from Sonic Chronicles The Dark Brotherhood, which I'm not sure if Sega will have any copyright issue with BioWare since they're the one who created the character, but if Sega owns pretty much all the characters in that game, then they could use X. And the Dead Pig is a bit interesting. It's kind of out there, but my Dead Pig will be Nike the Weasel, or some of you may know as Fang the Sniper in the comic book, who from what I can remember, only had two appearances in the video games. That's Sonic the Fighter and Sonic Triple Trouble. And I only know that because I own Sonic Gem Collection. But I think Fang the Sniper would be an interesting choice and a great way to reintroduce another forgotten Sonic character. As for story, it'd be pretty simple. Whoever's the main antagonist will steal the Master Emerald, and Knuckles will go after them and retrieve it back. Now, along the way, he'll meet up with the Chaotix, and he'll kind of mention his past history with the Knuckles Chaotix game. And well, since Knuckles is kind of a loner, he probably refuses to help at first, but then come around come around to it when he needs some help that he's not able to, and I will explain a little bit more on that in the video game genre category. But pretty much the story is your simple get your emerald back. I wouldn't cover too much into Knuckles' backstory just yet. Maybe some flashback scenes that explains who his parents are, what happened to them, and how he became the last Echidna in the Sonic universe, that is. And if they go stick to that story, they might as well not mention pretty much anything from Sonic Chronicles. But for so much, that's pretty much the story. Now, as for what genre, most of you are assuming that it's pretty much the same mechanics as Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, which, well, it's yes and no. I wouldn't mind the mechanic, and I wouldn't mind a little bit of treasure hunting here or there, but it shouldn't be the main focus of the game. But for my idea, it should be a 3D platformer, a bit of a collectathon, just like Banjo-Kazooie, but not focusing on collecting a lot of stuff. Now, Knuckles' gameplay will be pretty much the same as Sonic Adventure. Maybe add a bit some new moveset here and there. And as for the gliding, I'm kind of torn between either having infinite glide where he can just glide as long as he wants to, or kind of nerf it a bit where he can glide for a few seconds. I mean, for the former, it'd be kind of a great idea because you can explore the whole level pretty easily. But on the other hand, I think it might kill the game a bit if it's not designed right. But I wouldn't mind either way. Preferably, I go with Infinite Glide. And of course, he will climb on walls and dig in certain areas. As for the Chaotix gameplay, I'm only focusing on the three Chaotix that most people are familiar with because I'm not entirely sure about Mighty or Rate of Flying Score abilities, which I know that's going to disappoint a lot of you fans who are probably hoping I would mention them, but for right now I'm going to focus on the main three. Espio, since he can turn himself invisible and blend into his environment, he can do the stealth missions. Charmy, he can be pretty much Takar, gives Knuckles information, and maybe be able to go to small areas that Knuckles can't and complete some mission there. With Vector, I'm not entirely sure to do with him yet. The best idea I can come with is pretty much come out with a 3D section of Knuckles Chaotix with two characters, well, Knuckles and Vector in this case, and pretty much had the same mechanics and Knuckle Chaos from the 32X, but had to work in a 3D environment. But I'm not sure if it could work in a 3D environment, to be honest. But it would at least be an interesting idea. Now, who should develop this game? I came up with three choices. The first being Sonic Team, which is, well, kind of a mixed bag. If they're making a game with Knuckles as a playable character by himself, then I would take a chance on them. But if there's more than one playable characters, then I pretty much want them to stay away from them because they pretty much don't have a good track history with multiple characters, despite creating one of the best 3D Sonic games, which is Sonic Adventure 2. Now my second choice is Big Red Button Entertainment, who is making the new Sonic Boom game. They seem like the best people for the job. However, I have not seen them in action yet, besides for a few trailers, so I'm gonna hold off on them for right now. And my third pick, which is, well, pretty much my definite pick, is, well, they don't have an official company name yet, but they do have a trailer called Mingo Jingo. Now, Mingo Jingo is a small development team that is made up of ex-Rare developers. They pretty much make the Banjo-Kazooie games. And I say if Sega wants to try a new team out besides Big Red Button Entertainment, then I pretty much go with Mingo Jingo. Since Rare was the king of 3D platformers back in the Nintendo 64 era, I think Mingo Jingo would be the best candidate to make this 3D Knuckles platformer. The only thing holding them back is the storytelling, which, well, if we're going by most Rare games from the Nintendo 64 era, most of the stories are pretty much goofy, which is nothing wrong with that. In fact, some of the goofiness could work on the Chaotix member, but I'm hoping that if they were to make a Knuckles game, that they can bring out the serious sides of Knuckles' story. Now, when Mingo Jingo first formed, their plans was to make a spiritual successor to Banjo-Tooie. Now, let's say if they were able to make a 3D Knuckles game and it went very well, maybe Sega could help Mingo Jingo make that spiritual successor to Banjo-Tooie, or maybe make that 3D Knuckles game into that spiritual successor. Who knows? And that's pretty much my idea for creating a 3D platformer based on Knuckles. Will Sega ever make another game starting this Red Echidna? Who knows? And if they don't, that's fine. It's fun coming up with ideas of games based on your favorite character. Anyways, that's pretty much the show. If you have ideas of putting your favorite character in this own game, please send the video to me on my Twitter account at BarberDaddy3, and I would love to hear your ideas, even if it's on Knuckles himself. Again, this is me, BarberDaddy3, and I catch you later.